Mr. Transformers 96 here with another end of the year video. This time we're going to be doing the Marvel Legends 2020 Build-A-Figure ranking. So I've done this now for the last several years where I rank all the Build-A-Figures of the year, or all the ones that I actually built, from my least favorite to my favorite. So yeah, so this year there was a total of 8 Build-A-Figures released. I built 7 of them, and then one of them twice. So that's what we've got. The one that I did not build was Strongman. That was a Build-A-Figure and a wave that I really didn't have too much of an interest in. I had in my head that, if Black Friday, there was a company doing a really good sale on the whole wave, I get it, but really none did. Even though the whole wave is very easy to get, and it's not like there's one that's hard to get and the rest are all in stock. Basically, the entire wave is always in stock. So it's one that, if it goes cheap, I might end up getting it eventually. But for now, don't have any plans to get it for full retail, just because it's really not one that excites me too much, which is unusual. Usually either the Build-A-Figure excites me, or some of the figures in the wave excite me, but with that wave, this was kind of neither, to be honest. But here we are with the set of figures. We have Venompool, we have the game version of Abomination, we have Sugarman, Super Skrull, Demogoblin, Crimson Dynamo, as well as Joe Fixit. So interesting assortment of Build-A-Figures this year, and yeah, overall very excited to rank these. Also looking forward to next year's Build-A-Figures. We've seen a couple already, and I do have a few on pre-order. Well, I'm trying to actually think. Oh, the Spider-Man wave. That's right. So Stiltman and the Trio Sentinel, I think, are the 2 Build-A-Figures that we've seen so far. I do plan to get both of those, so we'll see. Maybe I'll have all the Build-A-Figures next year. But let's get started here with my least favorite of these Build-A-Figures. Alright, taking last place just so happens to be the first Build-A-Figure that I completed of the year, being Demogoblin. This is a Build-A-Figure that, as a figure alone, it's nice. I would have really enjoyed it had it just been a part of the wave itself. It's not great as a Build-A-Figure, though. The majority of this figure is reused from other pieces, or excuse me, from other figures. I do really like the head sculpt. His hands have an annoying thing where they constantly pop off. I don't know why the pegs just aren't strong enough to stay in, and it's for both of the hands too, so it's not like it's just like a one defect, it's like both of them, so I assume this is an issue for a lot of people. The glider is cool, and I like the way that you can have it actually levitating. That's very nice, but the rest of the figure, it's either reused or just kind of basic, and, a figure that would have been very cool as just a standard figure in the wave, but as far as a Build-A-Figure, definitely disappointing, and out of the ones from this year, is definitely my least favorite. And in 6th place, it's going to be the Super Skrull. So this is the second Build-A-Figure of the year. So the year started off very similar, where it was 2 waves with kind of normal size Build-A-Figures, to be honest. That they just had like one little extra thing about them. The Goblin had his glider, which other goblins have come with their gliders, so it's not too much different. And in this set, he comes with interchangeable arms and a new head sculpt. So you get some accessories with this Build-A-Figure, which is very cool. And as you can see, I did build 2 of him because you get 2 sets of arms and then 2 sets of the head. So only needed 3 more pieces to complete a completely new figure, essentially, which is kind of neat. So I enjoyed this one more than the Demogoblin. I'm a big Skrull fan, and the Super Skrull is very cool. I love the idea of how you can represent all 4 of the Fantastic Four within him. I really wish that they gave you some other interchangeable pieces, like interchangeable legs, because I'm okay with a standard size figure being a Build-A-Figure if it comes with a lot of stuff in it, like it makes it more than just a regular figure. And this guy, he comes with a decent amount of stuff, but not really enough to push him over the edge where he shouldn't have just been a regular pack either. So because of that, had they gone way out and they gave you an extension piece for the torso, make him, stretched out, or an invisible leg, or a rock leg, some like a lot of extra stuff, then I'd be more into it. But since they didn't, they kind of gave you the minimum amount needed to do a Super Skrull. It's a little disappointing, but because I'm such a big fan of the character, I did enjoy him more than Demogoblin, but again, same issue with Demogoblin, just really isn't quite enough to be a Build-A-Figure in my opinion. And next up, we have Joe Fixit, the last Build-A-Figure that I completed of the year. This is very just okay in my opinion. I think that some people will really like this one. For me, it's just a little eh. It's nice to have kind of a really bulky, suited figure. First time we're getting that. I know a lot of people are using this basic sculpt to do a lot of customs, which is great. But just as far as the figure that we have just on its own, it's alright. I believe it reuses some portions from Kingpin. I believe the legs are reused from Kingpin. It uses a strange ratchet joint, which Marvel Legends usually doesn't do, which is odd because it only allows his arms to go in certain positions. Like, he can't get in between the ratchets, and the ratchets are pretty far apart, so it makes him a little hard to get in a really natural stance, which does annoy me. And then I think that the face sculpt is just very plain, just very expressionless. It would have been cool if the hat was removable too. There's just, I look at them and it's like, you know, they did a decent job, but they really just kind of went with the minimal that they could have done. I think they could have made this a better figure and had the joints been more average for Marvel Legends. That would have helped it a lot too. Just personally, to be honest, out of all the Build-A-Figures, just with my like kind of fun level with it, I probably had the least amount of fun with this Build-A-Figure. I didn't do a ton with it. You know, I kind of built it, and literally while I was working, because I was just messing with the figure in my off time. So like, that's really all the interaction that I've had with it. I've never really had a desire to do much more with it, or even take pictures, to be honest. So, you know, I say that he's better than Skrull and the Demogoblin because he's a Build-A-Figure size. I absolutely give it to them for that. But as a Build-A-Figure, a little bit on the plain side. And taking that fourth spot, we have Crimson Dynamo from the Black Widow wave. This is a Build-A-Figure that I really enjoy. This is where I kind of think that the list starts to transition into Build-A-Figures that I really enjoyed of the year. I like this one. It does reuse the legs, basically, from Ironmonger, but I'm a big fan of Ironmonger's design, and I love that Build-A-Figure, so that didn't bother me much. The rest of it, though, is pretty much new. It has great range. I really like the ball-jointed upper torso. I think that the design of him is very cool. I like the kind of tubes on his arms, the way that they have them translucent, but still look like there's actually liquid in it. I think that that's very nicely done. The painting's great. I love the bright silver, and then the kind of like a darker burgundy around him is very neat. And as far as, you know, Crimson Dynamo and Titanium Man, there's a lot of kind of armored Iron Man villains that I really like that I feel like never get figures, so it's always nice when one finally does. And this was a really interesting representation of Crimson Dynamo as well. It's not the typical Crimson Dynamo suit that I'm used to, so I actually really like this Build-A-Figure. I thought it was quite really nice done, and definitely the size of a Build-A-Figure, which is always very nice. And as we start the top three, we have Abomination. This is the game version of Abomination, with alteration by myself. So this is actually the only Build-A-Figure of the wave that I just kind of bought the Build-A-Figure himself, and I bought one other figure in the wave. Otherwise, everyone else, I really bought the entire wave to complete the Build-A-Figure. This one, though, I'm not into the game. I just don't have any, I don't play it, and it's just not something that I'm interested in collecting. So a lot of the figures in the wave were game figures, and the leader was the only figure that I actually like really wanted. But the Abomination Build-A-Figure did always intrigue me because I'm a big fan of Abomination, even though I'm not a particularly big fan of the game version of him. But I was able to get him at a convention for a good price, and I was very happy to do so. It's a great figure. He's definitely the tallest Build-A-Figure of this year. He'd be in the top. Yeah, the top three Build-A-Figures are actually quite big, but he's definitely the tallest, and he might be the biggest when you just go by mass in general. Overall, I think that this is a great sculpt, though. To have such a big figure that still has a butterfly joint for the shoulder, I think is fantastic. He's got articulation superbly, like really, I've never had this bulky of a figure with so much articulation, which is really great. I do have the game head sculpt as well, like I got that with it, but I prefer to give him more of a comic look just because I have no interest in the game. So I was able to, I had a spare Scarlet Witch who came with the Abomination head sculpt from the comic Build-A-Figure of him a few years back, and I busted that out of package to kind of paint one to kind of fit the body a little bit. And yeah, overall, great Build-A-Figure, just not super stoked about it being the game one. Nonetheless, though, figure-wise, it's great. And taking second place, we have Venompool. This is a very cool Build-A-Figure. Very unique design, of course, a combination of Deadpool and Venom. I really love the face sculpt and that purple ton. I love the shaded purple that they used. I think it looks great, and I think that the eyes look awesome. Head sculpt's my favorite part of this figure, to be honest. He's so bulky, and he's got such interesting proportions because he's so big up top, and he's got these tiny legs. Not quite as misproportioned as our next Build-A-Figure though, but nonetheless still quite misproportioned. But I think that they did a great job with this guy. I love the fact that they have the sculpted texture of the suit in all the red pieces, and almost like this could almost be like a movie Deadpool that's been taken over by Venom, just because it has that like really unique texture that looks like the movie suit and not even just like a comic, which is very cool. You also have vein work in there throughout the figure, which I think looks awesome. The palm, or the top of the hands, and the chest, the abdomen, have so much detail that they have both the detail of the texture of the suit, it has the wrinkles of the suit, and then it has the veins and muscle sculpture popping from underneath it. It's very well detailed and sculpted, so I'm very impressed with that. He also comes with some accessories and interchangeable hands, which on a figure this big is pretty unique, so that's very cool as well. Overall, great Build-A-Figure. As much as I loved Abomination, I do think that this one is slightly better, at least in my opinion overall, but this top three is just three great Build-A-Figures, to be honest. So without further ado, let's go over my favorite Build-A-Figure of the year. Alright, and my number one favorite Build-A-Figure of 2020, by far, mind you, is Sugar Man. This is an awesome Build-A-Figure, and this is kind of unique for the fact that when this was shown, I wasn't really that excited. I didn't even plan to build him. And then what really intrigued me was the Jean figure in the wave. I always thought it was crazy just how big her Build-A-Figure piece was, because she came with the head, which is basically the body of Sugar Man, and she is smashed in the package. She is on one side of the package, and she's even tilted sideways so that she could fit this Build-A-Figure piece in, which is always, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. It gave me a better idea of the scale of him as well, so I was really digging that. But I still didn't plan to get him. It was only that I happened to go to a store that just had the entire wave there. It was Walmart. They had him for a slightly better price too. I think it was like $18.80 instead of $20. So, slightly discounted, which helped me just, push me over the edge. And I went, okay, screw it, I'm going to get him. So I bought him and opened him up, built this Build-A-Figure, and was really taken back. Love this figure. It caused me to love it so much that I really got into the storyline that he's from, the Age of Apocalypse story. I researched all the characters, and I love it when a figure can excite me that much to do research and to learn about something new, which is always really fun. So really enjoyed this Build-A-Figure. I've never seen anything like it, which is what is special, because I have hundreds of Marvel Legends figures, so to get one that doesn't seem like any of the others is just very impressive, and it's very hard to come by, to be honest. But he's great. Head sculpt is fantastic. It's huge. Probably the biggest head sculpt of Marvel Legends. Just competing with MODOK, of course. But huge head sculpt. Crazy ton. Love the way that it's sculpted. Love the shadowing, especially around his eyes. I think that looks great. He comes with 4 massive arms that are all fully articulated and fully sculpted. They didn't spare any expense. They didn't cut back on any of the articulation because you're getting 4 arms. Nothing like that. And then he's got his 2 little legs. This is a great figure. And also, you got both arms with one figure. They didn't make you buy 4 separate figures to get the arms. You bought one figure and it came with 2 arms, and one figure that came with 2 arms. So they didn't make you buy any extra because of the extra limbs of him or anything like that, which is commendable by Hasbro, so I'm happy about that. Overall, great Build-A-Figure, one that I had no intentions of getting, nor did I think was particularly interesting. Ended up being my favorite Build-A-Figure of the year, far none. The easiest person to place on this list was him, because I knew it was going to be a number 1. So overall, great figure, and definitely favorite Build-A-Figure of 2020. So there you go, that's my ranking of the 7 of the 8 Build-A-Figures that came out for 2020. Overall, a solid year for Build-A-Figures. There was a lot of different ones, to be honest. They started off the year with some smaller ones, and then they slowly made it bigger and bigger as the year went on. And just an interesting amalgamation of just kind of Build-A-Figures that they could choose from. My favorite character, just by hearing the character, what's one that I gravitate towards the most, it's actually the Super Skrull. That was my favorite character of the year. But when it comes down to just the Build-A-Figure and my experience with it and how much fun I had with it, it is by far Sugar Man, as I expressed. But overall, interesting year of Build-A-Figures. I think that if I did buy Strong Man, he'd be right up against Joe Fixit, so he'd either be just slightly better than him or just slightly not as good as him, one of the two, but he just kind of, I think, matches right to that degree on the list, if you were wondering. But there you go, that's my ranking of the 2020 Build-A-Figures. Let me know what you guys think of my choices. I'd also love to hear how you guys would rank them, and thanks so much for watching.